Hi guys, Buildzoid here, and this is just going to be a video sharing my thoughts on, the E3 announcements from AMD yesterday, as well as, well, yeah, basically the E3 presentation by AMD yesterday. So, and mostly like how, because of what they've announced, how I'm gonna work, like what I'm gonna do with the channel, basically. So, yeah, I'm not gonna be adding any new information. If you're, looking for new information about Ryzen, you're not going to get it here because, yeah, there. That's not what this video is about. So let's get right into it. First of all, Ryzen 3000. I'm, more importantly, the Ryzen 3950X, so the 3950X. It's a 16 core, it's $750, and it comes out in September. So I've basically decided that I'm not going to buy, like, I'm thinking I'm going to buy an 8 core, and then I'm going to buy the 16 core when it comes out. And I'm not going to buy the 12 core because the 12 core, like, I already have a 7940X, and the 12 core doesn't really do anything that the 7940X doesn't do. Um, and the 8, like, but I still want to get in on the new Ryzen CPUs, like in terms of testing out the memory overclocking, just seeing how they overclock in general. So I think the best bet is to just take like the top bin of the 8 core, and roll with that instead of like getting a 12 core or something. So that's basically my plan, is just pick up the 8 core, um, and I want to run it on a bunch of X470 boards, the B450s I have, which I don't have that many B450 boards, but yeah, I want to test it out on X470, on B450, on X570, on everything. Like, I just, like, the thing is, I wanted to kind of do that with the 12 core as well. I was thinking, hey, I could stick a 12, like, I want to see what happens if you stick a 12 core or a 16 core into a 4-phase B450 motherboard, or a 4-phase X470 motherboard, because the VRMs on those things are basically the same. Um, yeah, and the other thing is like, I have this kind of dumb idea where I want to do like a color matched benchmarking setup where it's like the GTX 780 Hall of Fame with the B450 titanium board I have, like the MSI B450 titanium. Can't remember what the full name was because the name was stupid. Like, seriously, some of MSI's naming schemes are just dumb. Um, yeah, so I can't remember the name of it, but the white, like, titanium edition board, and then run like I wanted to run like the 12 core or the 16 core and do 3D Mark Vantage, because I think that would be like, or also Firestrike. Firestrike could also work, and so I'm thinking, okay, well, I can just do that in September, right? And when the 16 core releases, I'll just buy the 16 core, do that in September, and there's no rush to do it right now, because like the 12 core, that doesn't really, like, it's, I have a 7940X. I kind of feel like with the 12 core, if the 12 core is probably not going to be able to keep up with the 7940X, so it'll just kind of be like sandbagging myself if I run that setup with the 12 core. So um yeah, that's kind of that. So, I'm definitely going to get my hands on the 16 core when it comes out. And for now, I think I'll just get an 8 core and mess with that instead. Other than that, I'm kind of excited. So we've heard a bunch of news about the new 3000 series APUs. I'm kind of considering picking up like a 3400G, because I'm wondering if they've upgraded the memory controller, because with the APUs, it's like, it's not about overclocking the iGPU. It's all about overclocking the memory, and I want to see, hey, can we clock the memory? Like, is it any better? And so I'm thinking, yeah, that could be interesting to play with. Um, so yeah, I'm thinking maybe like a 3400G, because I like the 2200G is awesome fun to overclock, and I actually plan to rebench the 2200G because my Firestrike score was beaten. So I need to reclaim my Firestrike score. Except I think I might just wait until I have like a high-end X570 ITX board in my hands and rebench on one of those, instead of like messing around with a cheap B450 with the APU, which I know is like, Buildzoid, your motherboard's 3 times the price of the CPU. That doesn't make any sense. It's for benchmarking. Like, that's the thing, is just like, it's for benchmarking. It's not about being cost effective. Like, the thing is, my score that I do still have, yeah, so I'm still in second place. So my second place score, the memory kit that I used for that score is worth as much as the CPU and the motherboard combined. Like literally, if you add up the price of the motherboard and the memory kit, motherboard and the CPU, it's actually cheaper than the memory kit I used for that score. So it's just like, yeah, cost effectiveness, who cares? It's 3D Mark Firestrike. Um, so yeah, I'm thinking of maybe pick up a 3400G and do that kind of thing again, because APUs are just awesome to overclock like that. Because the thing is, you tweak anything with the memory and it improves your performance, and that is really really fun to mess with. And yeah, and then I guess we get to Navi. And as far as Navi is concerned, I'm not interested. I hate to say this, like, you know, I'm a pretty big AMD fan, I'd say, right? Like my daily system right now is a Ryzen 7 1700 and R9 Fury, and like I have 1080 Ti's sitting in drawers around the room. So like, well, no, one's in a drawer, one's in a box. Um, the one that's in a drawer, actually, I think they might be both in a box at this point. I don't know where the 1080. Well, there's 1080 Ti's somewhere in here, two of them. But if we count how many AMD cards I have, it's ridiculous. Like there's a Vega 50. We're not going to go through. I have way too many AMD cards. Like way too damn many AMD cards. My most recent like high-end GPU acquisition was a freaking Radeon Pro Duo, Fiji. So the one with, you know, two Fiji cores. So, and the thing is I'm just not excited for Navi. And the reason why I'm not excited for Navi is not because of the price point or because of the performance, because if you've followed this channel for long enough, you know that I don't really care about either of those, which is why I keep buying 7970s and other ancient GPUs from like 20, well, okay, not ancient, but a lot of, you know, AMD GPUs from like 2011 to 2014-ish, 2015, right? Um, and yeah, so the thing about Navi that I'm not interested in it is it's got no like it doesn't seem to have a BIOS switch. It comes with a blower, which I don't actually care that much about. I think just AMD's all like I think that's more AMD just consistently shooting themselves in the foot. It's like, hey, you know what would be nice if your day one reviews were, you know, like, don't you wish your day one reviews were positive and weren't full of noise complaints? I don't know, guys. You know, maybe you'd sell more GPUs if every reviewer ever didn't complain about the noise or the temperatures. Though, actually, I don't think AMD's managed to really... Like, so far, I don't think AMD's actually released a single reference blower card that isn't actually loud. And I'm like... and I've not actually owned the worst ones of them. I think Vega 56 on the stock blower is loud, and Vega 64 on the stock blower is loud, and the RX 480 on the stock blower is freaking loud, and it thermal throttles. The RX 480 thermal throttles on the stock blower. Like you could have had a better product if you just designed a better heatsink. Like seriously, the RX 480 could have had more performance if AMD just designed a better bloody heatsink. But AMD hates proper heatsinks or something. But apparently with the newest blower, they've restricted the fan RPM to 1800. So, you know, instead of being loud, it'll just thermal throttle. That's so much better, isn't it? But I don't actually care about the heatsink that much. I can swap the heatsink with a Morpheus or a water blocker or an LN2 pod or whatever. You get the idea. It's not going to go in my daily system. I wouldn't put a blower card in my daily system in a million years. Well, actually, no. I ran the RX 480 in my daily system with the blower for like a day before I decided that, you know what, this is actually so loud that I'm going to put it on water cooling. So I ran the RX 480 with water cooling. Because, yeah, the blower is just terrible. The blower on those was terrible. So the thing is, with Navi, it's not really for me about the blower, because I can swap the heatsink. It's not really a factor. And ultimately, it wouldn't even go into my daily system. No, the problem is that Steve from Gamers Nexus was told by AMD that the BIOS is locked, which is not news to me because, I mean, Vega's BIOS, like the BIOS on Vega is locked for security concerns, apparently. But I'd love to know what the security concerns there are. Like, what's the, like, What? Like, because the thing is, like, the RX 590 doesn't have a locked BIOS, right? Like, the RX 590 is just as recent a release as, like, it's newer than Vega. The RX 590 is, right? Like, it came out after Vega. You can mod the BIOS on an RX 590. Can't do that on Vega, but you can do it on an RX 590. So it's like, what? So if I mod the BIOS on a Vega 64, does it give me like the power to hack the US government or something? Is that the security concern? And it's not a concern with an RX 590 because it's not fast enough or something? Like, I don't know. I don't really care either. But yeah, they're not like so the BIOS is locked, so that's great, awesome. You know, if I wanted a card with a locked BIOS, I could go buy one from Nvidia for the last several years. And the other thing they've done is apparently the custom power play tables that you could use to like remove the power limit on like Vega or really anything. Like the thing is, up until now, the AMD driver basically, if you copy, so the power play table thing works basically, you have power play tables in your GPU's BIOS, and if you copy them out of the BIOS into the Windows registry in like a special entry, the AMD driver will actually go by the registry entry instead of the power play table in the GPU's BIOS. And the thing is, with the power play table in the registry, you can change things like the power limit or the voltage or the clock speeds or like so much stuff. You can change basically anything you feel like, except like memory timings. And I don't think you can change. I don't think you can remove cold bugs and certain, like you can't disable temperature sensors and that kind of thing, which you can technically do with the BIOS, but I'm not sure how. I just know like that's a modification you can do on Fury X's because I have a Fury X LN2 BIOS that I've based some of my own BIOSes on. So yeah, there's some extra things that you can do with the BIOS, but I don't actually know how those work. But yeah, so the power play table thing, that apparently is not going to be an option for Navi either. So that's going away as well. And at this point, it's just like, well, so what you're saying is I should go buy an NVIDIA card. Because if we look at it, locked BIOS, no way to blow past the power limits in software, other than like a custom, like other than like an extreme, like with Nvidia, you basically just have to hope that like if you have a 2080 Ti, you can get an extreme overclocking 2080 Ti BIOS, right? Which I don't really consider a software removal of the power limit because you're reliant on the fact that some board partner leaks an extreme overclocking BIOS, and it doesn't change the fact that a 2080 Ti, I mean a 2080 has a really low power limit, or that the Titan RTX has a really low power limit, or that the 2070 has a really low power limit, or that the 2060 has a really low power limit. You get what I'm getting at, right? Like the power limit across the board, the entire product range, except the 2080 Ti, is completely bloody locked down in software. So with Navi, I mean, no board vendor is going to go and do like a freaking extreme overclocking Navi card because let's be completely freaking honest, Navi isn't going to beat a 2080 Ti in freaking 3D Mark Firestrike or 3D Mark Timespy or anything. So since nobody's going to actually go do a serious like extreme overclocking session with Navi, why would anybody make an extreme overclocking BIOS for Navi? They won't. So with Navi, you're going to have a card that's even more locked down than the average NVIDIA card. And at that point, it's just like, well, why don't I just buy an NVIDIA? Well, actually, it's not going to be more locked down. It's going to be like equally locked down to the average NVIDIA card. At which point, my question to AMD is, so why shouldn't I just buy an NVIDIA card? Because like that's the only reason, for me, the only reason to buy AMD cards has been they're not as locked down as Nvidia cards. That's been the only reason why I've been buying them. And now it's like, oh yeah, we're copying, you know, Nvidia's greatest best idea ever, which is to just completely lock down overclocking. And well, my response to that is, well, I guess if you want to be like Nvidia to the point that I can't tell the difference, I might as well just buy Nvidia. Like I might as well just buy a bloody 2070 or a 2080 or a whatever. Or maybe I won't because I think Nvidia cards are really overpriced. I'm kind of thinking that I might just save up for like a 2080 Ti secondhand on eBay and buy that and just run that instead. But yeah, like I was kind of excited for Navi. I was like, yay, I'm going to have a new AMD GPU to play with. It's going to be great. Hopefully, like it's going to be like, it's going to be like, kind of like as bad as Vega, but you know, hopefully not that bad. And then we get the news that, yeah, no power play table support. And my response is, well, AMD, screw you. Screw you too. I'm going to buy Ryzen. I'm not going to buy Navi. If Intel makes a GPU with better overclocking support than NVIDIA or AMD, I'm buying Intel. It's that simple. Like, I couldn't care less about the performance or the price point. It's, to me, it's literally just like, how much does it suck to overclock? Oh, except like somebody's going to be like, Buildzoid, why don't you just buy like a 2080 Ti Kingpin edition? At that point, I do care about the price point. That's just too expensive, right? Like, that is just way too expensive. That's way too much money for one GPU. I'd say even 800 quid is way too much for one GPU, but like I've done, like I bought the 7940X for like 800, so you know that's kind of the upper limit, I guess, for me. It's just like 800 quid for anything. Oh no, there was one other card that I bought that was more expensive, the Vega Frontier Edition, which I decided was the stupidest purchasing decision I ever made, because for the price of one Vega Frontier Edition, you could have like several Vega 56s or a pile of 7970s, right? So at this point, I'm just like, yeah, I'm not really interested. Which, yeah, that's kind of my outlook on the new, stuff, the new announcements from AMD. And I was like they even made like a freaking anniversary edition of the Navi card. And I was like, oh, but it's locked down. So, yeah, that's basically my take on the AMD E3 presentation. Ryzen's really, really cool. Navi, for me, is a huge letdown. I don't, again, could be great value per dollar for gaming. Hell, I might decide to stick a custom heatsink Navi in my daily system if I ever start playing games that are modern enough to need more than an RX 580. But I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So, yeah, for me, Navi's just kind of like, eh. And then Ryzen's actually exciting. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe if like Sapphire makes some ridiculous custom card that's like really, real like special in some way. But I have a really hard time. Like the thing is just like, what are you gonna do with a card that's basically as locked down as Nvidia card? Like, what are you even gonna do? Like, there's no point doing a nice VRM on a card where you can't remove the power limit. So, and the voltage controls are going to be just yeah, voltage control on AMD is now almost as restricted as on Nvidia, where it's just like you don't actually have much control at all. But yeah, that's kind of it. So at least Ryzen's exciting, but I was really like, ultimately, I'm more of a, like, I like my GPUs more than my CPUs, so I was really hoping for an exciting new GPU to play with, and instead I just got more NVIDIA. Like, NVIDIA with red paint on it. So, yeah, that's kind of that. This video is really unnecessarily long, because it's mostly just me whining about how Navi sucks, but for overclocking. But yeah, I'm not even gonna do like the full outro. Hopefully this didn't waste too much of your time. See ya in a real video. Yeah, tomorrow. There's gonna be a real video tomorrow. So subscribe for that. But other than that, see ya.